Are we on? Okay. Call the special meeting of the Weare Board of Firewards for November 28, 2022 to order. We do have a quorum. We have some members absent, but 4 is a quorum, so we will proceed with the meeting tonight. First item is the 2023 budget. Before we start with that, at the last meeting, we had some discussion and conflict of interest was brought up. And so I said I was going to check with the attorney, and I did that. I have a written statement that was provided to me on this subject. As I understand it, there are 2 individuals on the Board of Firewards who wish to be involved in drafting policies, job descriptions for positions that they have or want on the fire department. The question is whether they may legally participate in the creation of these policies. Both have indicated that they understand they shouldn't vote, but they feel that they should be able to participate in the discussions. Recusals don't work that way. If an individual has a conflict such that he should not vote on a topic, then he should not be involved in the discussions of that topic either. So it seems that since both recognize that they shouldn't vote on these issues, they likewise should not participate in the discussions. As for whether there is actually a legal conflict of interest, that is a more nuanced question. There is nothing in the statutes or case law that I'm aware of that speaks to this situation. Instead, the case law and statutes speak to conflicts when a board is acting as a quasi-judicial capacity, parenthesis, acting on an application, for example, parentheses, rather than administrative capacities, parentheses, such as setting policy, parenthesis. In those cases, it is clear that it is clear that if someone will benefit personally, start that sentence again. It is clear that if someone will personally benefit from a decision of the board, that he may not participate. Here, the 2 individuals may benefit from the policy decisions, but there is no certainty they will. Nonetheless, I do recommend that they recuse themselves from these topics because they are hoping to benefit. With that frame in mind, it is easy to argue that they cannot act impartially and in the best interests of the town. So the reason I brought that up now was just as we go into the budget, it's up to individuals to recuse themselves, as I see it, from any discussions in which they will benefit. So even though that pertained basically to that subject that we were talking about at the last meeting, it may coincide with discussions in the budget as well. So I just wanted to read that so everybody's aware of the decision that, or the opinion of legal counsel. Okay, Chief, I'll turn the floor to you for your budget proposal.
Well, this is the numbers that I had come up with when requested by the town administrator. Submitted that budget, and now we're back here looking at it line by line, I guess. So is there any particular questions? If there is, then I will try to answer them. Or maybe Beth can help me.
Okay, is there any questions?
Yeah, I've got questions. I got lots of questions as far
Okay.
as the proposed budget goes. And I did a little work over the last couple of weeks to try and come up with some things that I thought would be more reasonable as far as a proposed budget is concerned. And let me start by saying I understand a default budget is the default budget, and you don't get to change any of the numbers above that red line, and that as long as you are net zero on the total bottom line, that shifting lines around below that red line is acceptable. But I'm not actually talking default budget, I'm talking proposed budget. And to my understanding, a proposed budget is just that, And aside from things that are contractually obligated, that there should be some availability of moving of some of the costs that are showing up in the salary area that are unreasonable. And perhaps moving them to different lines where it makes a lot more sense, in my opinion. So I've put together a couple of different options. One feels more realistic, the other one is more of a no holds barred, everything shoot the wad kind of line items. There aren't a lot of changes, but the significant change is to the fire wages call force and the fire wages part-time EMT/firefighters, of which we have none. So that was my thought, is to move some of that money.
So wait a minute. So you're saying we have no call firefighters?
I'm saying we have no per diem part-time
Okay,
EMT/firefighters. We have a call force, minimal as it is, we have a call force.
okay, I'm sorry, I thought you were
Although we do not
talking about that
have,
one.
it's been replaced by a full-time fire department.
Can I interject 1 second?
Yeah.
Do you have a copy of whatever you're looking at?
I
Because we
do.
handed out the
Oh.
chiefs.
Yeah, I have
Yeah, all I have
one,
is
I
just
sent
the
them
one.
out, I have my computer here, if we could
Oh,
connect
you
it
have to
somehow.
sit over at the end of the table. Do you mind moving?
No, I don't mind
So you can
moving.
See what you're talking about? I'm going off the
Yeah, I know, it's really,
sheets and
it's
it's not
hard
matching
to
up
do
with what you're
that.
saying.
Yeah, because I was hoping that we could go off the one that the chief, that you passed out, that came from the chief, so we're all on the same page. And can you adjust that microphone, Louisa, so that,
I know I
So on my spreadsheet here, I have two tabs. I have a sort of a, this is my no holds barred tab, and then I have a, what I would consider a more realistic tab. So that top part where it's all emergency management, that was really, there was no changes to any of that. But as we scroll down, I had some changes to, requested by other people about the assistant chief stipend, and then moving down to the call force wages, these two green lines here. So right now, in your call force wages, your default budget is $85,000. I just did some quick and dirty math. I took a rough estimate of $20 an hour for wages plus taxes. Average call is about 2 hours. Say we had 2 calls times 250 days in a year, so 500 different calls that we were showing up for, and 2 members who showed up for those calls. That comes out to about $20,000 as far as what our wages would be, as opposed to budgeting $85,000 for that. We currently have a third man-on program right now that we've been staffing for the last month or so, which is to add a third part-time position on a Saturday or a Sunday. It's a 10-hour shift. And again, I did the same thing with my realistic tab. I decided, third man on, 20 hours for the weekend, 10 on Saturday, 10 on Sunday. Still use that rough $20 an hour. And I assumed maybe 30 weekends a year out of 52 it would be staffed, which comes to a whopping $12,000 in wages as opposed to the $70,000 that's in the budget there. So it just felt to me as though we could take, or we could go to the revised, the maximum number where those numbers are significantly higher, 58,000 and 20,800, assuming you went 52 weeks and you had 2 people show up for 2 calls a day, 365 days a year. Those seemed a little over the top to me, but nonetheless, there was still significant savings in those 2 lines. And I just felt that if you move some of that money down to some of these other line items where we needed it, for instance, fuel, that it would make more sense overall. So I've increased our fuel cost to $25,000. I think somebody told me the town was assuming it was gonna be, diesel itself was gonna be about $7 a gallon, for the upcoming year. There are a few other little items. I know that they needed more money in the fire prevention. So this is what I did. I came up with about $7,000 in the, if we went no holds barred. Bottom line is about $7,000 decrease in the budget. In the other tab, I'm looking at about, oops, make those bigger. I don't do this with a tab very well, sorry. Bigger. Anyway, I'll make those bigger in a minute. I had a significant savings. Now again, I know this is proposed, and I know that we're all sort of in the mode that the town is not going to pass a proposed budget. That, the idea is that if we were to able to create some savings in the fire department budget, perhaps some of those line items could be changed and moved into maybe another department. Needs to be able to increase their fuel costs. I don't know what the DPW needs money there or what. Or if that's, if we could put the fire department budget out to the voters on its own, it would be one thing, but we can't. So where we're all part of one big town, maybe these savings could be passed on to the town in the overall town budget. So that's just where I was coming from. I had some questions. I just felt like those two line items in particular, in a proposed budget, made sense to bring them down to a more reasonable level, as opposed to leaving them where they were in the proposed budget.
Okay, so you're all set?
So that's the gist of what I did. I know, and I know that we're missing a couple of people, and know that there are people who probably have other questions or concerns, or feel like there's things that need to be changed. So I'd like this just not necessarily to be taking a vote on any of this tonight, but at least to put it out there to review.
Well, we need to
for
approve the
thought.
budget tonight. That's our goal here.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, I would love, that's why I said earlier that I would like to see a full board here, but we don't have that. I think probably the best thing to do is go down through the proposed budget that we all have in front of us, line by line, of the changes. If there's no changes, we can certainly look at it, but let's concentrate on the changes. How does that sound? Okay, so I'm looking at the sheet that was handed out by the finance director, and I just want to say thank you for being here tonight, to the finance director to help us with this. The first item that we have is, as a change, is line 309, which is fire stipend assistant chief. There's a $12,000 increase for increase in responsibilities, no increase since '90s. I see that, but I don't see, below that is 310 fire stipends for fire officers, and there's no change in those. I think that in this line, so that was increased by 12, and then under this proposal, set 317, which is fire wages part-time, AKA the per diem program, that's reduced by 12,000 in this, I guess, to offset that increase. And so my feeling on that is that I don't see any increase in the other lines, so I don't see why we need to increase that one. At some point, we may want to look at rolling those stipends into an hourly wage because, and doing away with those because I have the report of 11/28, which is today, 2022, on the summary of the money that's basically been spent so far this year. And so we have the assistant chief is 25% left remaining, but the fire officers is 78% remaining. So I don't know if, I'm assuming that that's due to we don't have a lot of active officers at this time. That maybe we don't have the need for that budget. Is that accurate, Chief?
Yes.
On the other
Two
officers.
of them have gone to a full-time status,
Okay,
so.
all right. So, so I see that, so I think that if we're not spending money out of that line as much, we could look at that. The problem that I see in going to what Louise was talking about, the call firefighters, is that we don't have as much participation right now as we have. We have at least one new recruit that I know of coming up who's been very active, and we hope to have more. So we also need to be very careful. It'd be nice to see an active call force of about 25. And so before we start making cuts and stuff, I want to kind of look at those things. One of the things that I understand is that there's been meetings, there's been more trainings, et cetera, and there's been an active attempt to get the call people more involved. And so let's hope that we do get more, because our the two people that we have on duty certainly should be supplemented by a call force, an active call force. And so I think that we as a department, that's an important thing to look at in recruiting and et cetera for that. And also, you know, we could get several large incidents. I think of the Mother's Day flood years, 2006. We've had several significant wind, ice storms that come up. It's not unheard of to have a hurricane and a tornado in New Hampshire. We could have some significant snow events. We could also have some very large fires, too. And so we have to be careful in this business. It's hard to predict exactly how the year is going to go, so we need to be careful with those things. But I would recommend that we keep that money where it was, so it's really no change in the proposal, but just, I think that's better management of the budget. Do we want to go down through all of these, or do we want to vote on each one, or?
Can we talk a little bit more about the stipend, about the
Sure.
assistant chief? I mean, I think overall, if you look at that increase of $12,000, that's quadrupling that stipend. And I
Know
don't
that.
think anybody is, and I think that is, I don't know anybody whose stipend or any other thing has been quadrupled. I don't have a problem with an increase. The increase that I put in was already a 78% increase. It wasn't a 400% increase, but even 78% is a pretty large increase, and that only brings it to $7,500. I don't personally have an issue with raising the stipend, but I think it needs to be a more reasonable amount. I don't think quadrupling it is prudent in these times, and whether we take it away from the call for force wages or not, that's fine. But unfortunately, I don't think that a 400% increase is a reasonable number. I don't have a problem with an increase. I just don't feel like it should be that much.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody else has any, specific numbers that they're looking at. I guess I would be amenable to bumping it up, but not by 400%.
So, for now, my proposal would be to remove the 12,000 proposed from Assistant Chief stipend and then restore the part-time wages.
Part-time or call force?
Where is it here?
He took it out
It
of
was out of
part-time,
part-time, yes, that's part-time EMT firefighters.
which
I'm
should
sorry.
be 0.
Yes, so the change would be 0.
No, I'm saying, if we go further down that line, there are no more part-time unless you, and that's why I put the third man on, because that would be sort of a part-time position, but we don't have part-time staff anymore. We have call force, and we have full-time staff.
Okay, so I'm going somewhere with this, but I'm trying to do it in an orderly manner.
Okay,
So that was my thought.
so you'd put
To
the
move
12,000
that.
back into the part-time.
Well, it appears that that was traded for that in this proposal, that the increase was traded for a decrease on line
Okay.
317.
And I guess then I would propose that we take some of the money out of the part-time and increase the stipend by a smaller amount.
Is that, so Chief, was that your thought, was to move 12,000 from part-time
Yes,
to increase that stipend proposal?
yes.
Okay. Just for housekeeping and clarity, I thought, we'll just change that back for now. So is that clear?
So you're making the call that there's going to be absolutely no increase to the assistant chief stipend? You're saying
Correct.
0?
Correct.
Does anybody else have an opinion?
I'm gonna end up with a proposal to come in at default. So I'm not sure what's the best way to get there, because I want to explain where I'm coming from and how we've done, but I want to try to follow it in an orderly manner, so using the same sheet is what I'm trying to accomplish. Do you want me to go down through my proposal, or, because I understand it's hard to, just looking for a good way to go through. Do you have any suggestions, Beth, on how we should be doing this?
No, I mean, with only 3 of you really voting on this, it's just gonna be back and forth until you guys have to decide on each line. And if your proposal zeroes that line out, and the rest of the board wants to increase it, you're gonna have to get a vote to increase or decrease that line.
Okay, well, since we have a difference of opinion, then, so I propose this, that we do a consensus. If there isn't a consensus, then we'll have to have a hard vote, I guess. Is that?
On each line?
Yeah, in each line that we discuss. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay. So, do we, so,
Yeah, sorry.
okay.
That in my right leg.
And then at the end, we'll take a vote, a formal vote on the budget, okay? All right, so the $12,000 decrease in line 309, Assistant Chief, I propose that we zero that increase. So all in favor? Aye.
Yep.
Opposed?
No,
Okay, so it's 2 to 1. So we'll zero that line. With 0, I should say, I'm sorry, 211 is the actual vote on that. Okay, the next one that I have a difference in, well, actually, is the 317 part-time wages. I proposed 49,000 decrease, not counting the 12,000 that the chief's budget has. And that is, so $49,678 decrease to that line, which brings us at the end of everything to default.
Say that again?
A 49, in 317 part-time wages, I propose that we decrease that line by 49,678. And that brings the budget into default. And I guess that one's a hard one. We should probably come back because as I move different proposals for different places, to bring that to a total, that's what we have.
So it's taking 49,168, that's what you were decreasing?
$49,678. I don't know if this is a good system, because if,
Is it possible I can make copies of what you're looking at?
yeah, I'm looking at,
That one?
this is the one that we received that you printed off. This is the one that I'm looking at, was a print off with some changes.
If you
Yeah,
have it in front of them, they might.
okay. Sorry, I'm not trying to make it difficult.
Yeah, I don't get the same number, but that must be some of my other things that changed.
DPW and police have already been there. Well, fuel's a killer,
Oh, fuel's nasty, we're
so
expecting
they both up.
$9 to $10 by the middle of next year.
They're both up.
Other than that, everything's okay? We're staying pretty,
Yeah, health insurance is up. Then the state retirement,
yeah,
that's up.
but we're not seeing any unusual movement at the moment.
We're trying.
So you're leaving the default budget for the administrative assistant to be the same too?
She took my proposal, so I'll wait till that comes back.
You're saying that's the default, that's what it was, even though we reduced her hours.
He's down, he'll be down.
Yeah, we skip, yeah, I only discussed,
December 6th.
I'm sorry, I only discussed the ones that I had difference from the proposal here.
But you said that you were going with the default budget.
I'm proposing that we come in at default, but some of the other numbers would be changed to make that happen.
You didn't have any marks on it, did you?
I don't think so. So I'm basically trying to go on here in the same format, the difference being working off the chief's proposed budget and then the one that I came up with. So as I said, my intention was not,
Which one did she just give us? One that's stapled?
well, they're both, both of the ones I have is stapled, I don't know.
Mine are stapled.
Okay. So,
See this one?
okay, so we started discussing 309, I didn't propose any changes to 311, as outlined in his proposed budget, 312, or 313, okay? Let me give you a quick overview, because if we vote on each line, but then the vote changes the end number, then we would have to make adjustments, so, do you want me to just give you a quick rundown of what I'm looking at? All right, we'll do that. Okay, so going beyond the 317 line, so this proposal has under, be easier if I use the ruler I brought for this purpose, wouldn't it? Under, the next change would be under Medicare 320, would be a decrease of $548 instead of a payroll increase in the proposal.
Why? That's just a percentage of your salaries.
Right, but if we,
Increased a huge,
so if we decrease the per diem part-time line,
All right.
that works out to that. We also decrease FICA by $2,616. Okay. So those would be changed from respectively from an increase in the proposed budget in line 320 of 215, that would be a 548 decrease, change to a 548 decrease. A change in 321 from 644 increase to $2,616 decrease, and then from an increase of $3,670 in 322, which is retirement system, that would be that's the same actually, 3,670, so there is no change in that line. The next one, 323, which is telephone, no change proposed in either to that. The fire internet connection, I proposed a $695 decrease.
How are you getting there? Well, that's what was in the original proposed budget, so you
Yep.
didn't change his.
Right. So that's one of the areas that I think we can save. And it's the number 324. For fire internet, there it is, okay, sorry. So the amount year-to-date is we've spent $1,281.50. So we still have over 35% of that line remaining. Okay? Just make sure I'm lining that up here. So that was the proposal there. Then we have no change to the proposal from this one to the increase in capillary dispatch. Under 328 line, which is annual dinner, I propose $300 decrease because we're no longer hosting that dinner. The line for additional, for 331 for additional insurance, that's an additional Provident policy. We both had a $12 increase in that budget line. For mutual aid dues, there was a $130 increase in the proposed budget, and I zeroed that increase. Didn't go with that increase there, just based on what last year's budget was. The lawn care contract increases in both the proposed and my proposal. And then under fire service contracts, I did not, hold on a second. Not making matching up here. It's hard to match it up because this one uses more than 2 lines in some of the accounts. So in that line, in the chief's approval, it has a $2,295 decrease, which I did not put in there. Actually, we have to move up to, okay, went from, sorry, we have to move back to, we did the lawn care. Okay, the next one was, fire hose cistern maintenance. And, okay, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, so under lawn maintenance, chief had 2,000 for cutting a brush. And that was added to that line. Back in money spent, 336. This doesn't follow the exact format, so this has 591 as an account number. Okay, but, okay, the line items here, was messing me up. So, yeah, just want to make sure I was in the right place. So, we currently have 500 in the budget. Year-to-date, we've spent $14.99. And so, I propose that we leave it at the 500, and I think that we can probably cut the brush ourselves as a department to save that money. we haven't spent much of it so far, so I felt to leave that where it was. So I had 0 increase on that. So then, fire intercepts, chief's proposing a $2,100 decrease due to current staffing levels. I just left that alone for now, because, again, that's something that at $500 every time, under EMS guidelines, they're required to call for a paramedic intercept if the patient meets the criteria. And so, again, we don't know exactly where that's going to be, so I propose to leave that where it was. And then we had, okay, that brings me back down to the fire EMS service contracts. So year-to-date, we've spent $2,782. So the amount remaining is $3,266. So I was proposing to decrease that by $2,295.
Do we have any, for the Life Pack and the Lucas, I mean, are those hard and fast numbers? Do we know what those costs are for support for those? I mean, we can see what we spent so far, but,
Well, it's because we got new life packs, so the cost of the maintenance is gonna be like halfway through next year. We just got them, so
So they're under warranty and
they're
stuff.
under warranty for
Yeah.
like the first 6 months.
Okay. So, then the next difference is, the maintenance contract on the radios, I had 0 for that. And the reason is because, let me see here, we have money in the budget for radio equipment in another line, the line 358. And then we have, yes, so we have the radio line there, radio equipment, we have money in there, proposed budget.
that to purchase radio equipment? What's it for? As opposed to maintenance contract?
That's,
So we don't have a maintenance contract anymore,
we
correct?
do not. And
Now it's just
I just had them in
maintenance.
town today.
Yay. My vibrate gone? But, so the maintenance contract makes sense to go to 0, but shouldn't we make sure that we have enough in just maintenance? Right? Would that be under line 358?
In the years past, I've asked them to run their numbers. How much would it cost me if I didn't have the contract versus having the contract? And they said it's hard to tell, but it would be very close, but under the contract, all the batteries were included. So if I need a battery today, I have to go and call them, and then they ship it with a bill. Before, they were all free.
But we paid for them in the contract, basically.
Right.
But, so, and
But the
I've,
contract was cheaper than if we paid them by the hour to come.
So I've also asked in previous meetings for a contract. Do you have a number for that?
We cannot do a contract anymore.
R&R won't?
No, because in the article going to capital, it was zeroed out.
So that was proposed for the transmitting equipment, et cetera, which we basically owned, as I understand it.
It was to maintain all of our radios, everything, from pagers all the way to the Hilltop. And I had contacted R&R and said to them, we need to sit down and talk about what's gonna come off the contract because we're not using it anymore. The voter sites, the Hilltop stuff. And we hadn't got that far when the last quarter of the year, when I signed the bill, okay to pay, and Beth said we couldn't pay that because in the article going to capital, it was that we would no longer need a contract for radio maintenance. Correct?
And so, for that bill that you had to pay, what was that include, what was that for?
The recent bill,
Whatever bill you were just
it was
talking
like
about.
$3,700 for the reprogram and all the stuff to go to capital. And
Right,
then.
that was a one-time.
That was a one-time, well, because it was right at the time the contract expired. And, I've got a couple of pagers and a couple of portables going over there for repair right now. They were in town today doing the car never got done during the conversion.
So what I'm saying is that so we don't have, just to apples and apples, we don't have a lot of the equipment that was included in the contract, correct?
We don't have the Hilltop stuff and the voter sites.
And wasn't that a lot of our issues that we had?
I don't know because I never got that far. I never got the cost of how much it was gonna come off the contract for the Hilltop stuff and the voter site.
Well, that's why I think that it's important to have those numbers for budget process. To know what we're gonna, to have a reasonable request on what we're gonna need. And because things change radically in what we're gonna need for services, with those things coming off the contract, then, you know,
You know how much our portion was, Beth?
For R&R?
For R&R?
I can find that out. But isn't on your proposed budget, you have it, radio maintenance, programming, batteries and shipping?
That was under
Yeah,
the contract
5,000,
line.
right?
Yeah.
That's only a guess.
Okay.
But is that,
We won't have to have them, and also in the contract, we had one free programming every year. Well, it's not gonna be too far into next year, we're gonna have to reprogram again because Goffstown is going to, different system.
so,
It was always pretty handy to just figure out who was gonna be on what frequency and then just program once a year.
so does
Not a
line,
lot of people change, but when the change comes, then you need to make the change.
so for whatever we decide needs to be the number for maintaining our radio equipment, that would be line 358 though, is that correct? Is that a true statement?
well, I'd like to have some idea, I know it's not perfect science, but I'd like to have some idea of what the number represents.
So we've got $3,600 in fire dash radio equipment.
No, it's
And that's what's in Steve's budget here. He didn't change yours, apparently.
radio
Oh,
maintenance
you had
contract was
5,000.
342, or 614.
Right, so 342 is gone now, right? We decided that was zero because we don't have a contract.
So we spent about 11,000-ish
Yeah, that's 2 quarters.
2 quarters, so that's about half.
Yeah, it was
And if we take the half the stuff off the mountain in the voter sites, that's about half of what was, for the maintenance contract. We're kind of lucky that they come through every once in a while, and if I catch them just right, they stop and pick the stuff up so we don't have to ship it. But,
Okay, so I highlighted that one. We'll come back to it. So the next one is 344, software support.
now you?
So you've got that at 3045? Well, not me. Are you just basing that off of our current year expenses through September?
The software support?
Not you, Steve's number,
Oh.
3045.
I'm looking here, sorry, I have to slow.
Oh, that might have also been, yeah, what came from you, chief. For EMS manager, I'm responding.
That's all the stuff that never was included in going to capital.
So, yeah, so I was going off expenditures for 2022. We had the approved budget, which was the software support, 344. So the 2022 budget was 2346. And so so I had a $699 increase instead of a $4,200 increase in that line. And so we actually expended,
So
yes, $3,067.99.
do we know, you say, so in your notes here, chief, 2,070 for EMS manager, is that, maybe I should ask Beth. $725 for I'm responding,
So I,
250 for CAD, I don't know what else makes sense, so that's 1,000, so that's the 3,000. What was the proposed budget increase for just hand heavy?
Now, the difference between Steve's and Chief Richards is the CAD. The CAD is not on Steve's.
Okay, but we have to have that, right? That's part of, that's part of,
That's part of that's the dumping the stuff into our stuff from capital.
from capital, so
Yes.
that's not an option, right?
Well,
You
no.
can't just say we don't want it?
It should have been in the cost of going there.
But it wasn't.
But it was
So, I
not.
mean, that's a moot point. Well, now we have to get in the budget somewhere because we have to have it. It is part of how we
So-
get our
It's all part of
information from
it.
capital.
yep, so so the different, I was proposing a $699 increase instead of a $4,234 increase.
But will that cover everything that we need to have? If the difference between Chief Richards and
Well, I was-
yours is the CAD?
I was going on like I said, the proposed budget, what was spent, et cetera, so,
Which we didn't have
okay,
that last year.
so.
So in all honesty, that's gotta go back up.
Okay. So then,
So if we put it back, okay.
well, I'm just, yeah, I highlighted it, we can come back to it. The fire fuel vehicles, 347. We had a proposed increase of 4,557. I'm proposing 18,650, I'm sorry. Yeah. 4,000, I'm proposing 18,657. Instead of 4,557 in that line. And that's basically from the selectmen's numbers?
What's that, I'm sorry, the fuel, yeah.
The fuel, yeah, okay. So that's the difference there. And then we go down to fire physicals immunization, and there was $1,000 increase in there. And I put a zero increase because it said hopeful in hiring new call force personnel. But we have 1,500 in the, I'm sorry. Yeah, so the 2022 approved budget of 2,500. So 2022 approved budget was 2,500. 2023 is 2,500. And then the proposed budget of 2,500 with how does that $1,000 increase?
Well, it's not, but I agree with your number here. I think it should be dropped to 1,500 too. I don't think that there's any reason that we are gonna need physicals and that many immunizations. In fact, I'm pretty sure when I joined the force, nobody paid for my physical or my immunizations, so I'm not sure why we have anything in there, but, yeah. As far as hoping to add new.
Oh, I
call
see,
personnel,
okay,
it
wait a
seems
minute,
like
wait a minute, wait a
lot.
minute, wait a minute. I think I got it figured out. So, the 2023 default budget is 1,500. So is that because we're in default budget,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
When you,
Because I'm sorry, because it says 2,000, we didn't get an approved budget for 2022.
no, what happened was you had a warrant article for full-time firefighters,
Okay,
and then with an agreement that we would be reducing a couple lines the following year.
okay,
We only needed it for them, so it backed down.
okay. So I'm proposing to zero the increase of $1,000 so that would leave us at the 1,500 for that line. Everybody understand that? Okay. Under fire prevention, I just zeroed the increase for that.
I disagree with that one. Highlight it.
So the budget was 350,000, I'm sorry, $350, sorry. And we spent $351.50. So that was barely over, so I felt that, being the way things are, that would be a place that we could live with what we have.
Well, that's because you didn't see what we were able to do with fire prevention and what we were able to do with the, I mean, this is a big community thing. And the stuff we cobbled together to send back to the schools this year was pretty bleak. So if we're trying to make an impression on our community, that's not how it's happening. And if you have $300 that you took out of the community dinner, I would say it would make more of a community benefit to add that $300 back to this line. So I would
The
discuss.
300 was 150 was the proposed increase. Not 300.
All right, 150, I
Okay.
would increase it to that. I wouldn't cheap out on what we're trying to do for our community, and this is a big one.
Okay, so then, for fire maintenance, I just went with the budget that we had. I know we had some big items happen this year. Hopefully that will be enough. And so I had a zero
We
increase for
haven't even got
that.
to that yet.
What's that?
We haven't even got to that yet.
What's that?
Keep going.
Yeah, we're at, so,
The vehicle maintenance,
yeah, that's where I'm at.
so you have
Okay.
19,000, which is,
So my proposal is to stay with the current 15,000 on that one.
really?
Yes.
Am I looking at the wrong sheet?
Yep, hold on. Backwards, sorry.
Yours says.
You're right.
Has the
Yes,
$4,000 increase.
I'm sorry. Got confused as to which one I was looking at. Yes, I did increase that one by 4,000. All right, on the next page. Okay, so when you flip the pages, they don't both flip. So one says 357, the other says 356. Neither of those have a change. So the next change is at 358, radio equipment. Which says 1,400 increase if pages are purchased through CIP reduced to 3,600.
Do you know where they are with that, Naomi? The pagers? They're gonna do it CIP, or?
Let me just,
Been through the process.
so 358. So I just had no change on that instead of the $1,400 increase.
So this is, my question is,
Mhm.
is this where we need to be worried about fixing our radios? Is this where we should be putting money in?
No, this is to purchase
Okay,
new equipment.
so where is maintenance of the
It's back
radios
here.
besides,
It's in 614.
614? Oh, for that count number.
Yeah, it's
Oh, that
about,
was the contract, but if we don't have a contract, do we not have any budget?
Well, if you just crossed out contract, radio maintenance, it's a good place to keep it if they just change the title of that. But that's obviously gonna show,
All right, so that, I'm gonna highlight that too, because I don't think that should be zero then.
yeah, we can come back there. Okay, and then the next line is under fire equipment, and we're proposing an increase of $4,500 for 2 chainsaws and 2 ventilation saws.
No, we're not.
I don't know about chainsaws, but vent saws are pretty expensive. But I just thought that that was something that we could defer. And so I propose that stays at 0. okay, here's another line that I came across, which says, fire equipment repair.
Yeah, that's a mess up. That should be, that radio maintenance program, batteries and shipping should be over on 6, whatever it was.
Well, that's
14.
part of the reason why I saw that line and the other one, the 358,
614 is the.
and that line, and then the other line, and said, well, we don't need everything. So what are you trying to say there?
So fire equipment repair.
Because we're looking at $5,500 in the proposed budget for
What are we repairing?
radio maintenance program, batteries, and shipping.
No, I think that's what Chief is saying,
Back to
that's not what that
614,
is.
that's where that is.
Okay, so,
This is actually repairing other fire equipment,
okay.
not the radio.
Well, but that's, okay, so that's why I zeroed out the 5,000 on the other one, because I thought that that was covered in here when I was looking at this proposal.
I don't think so. I don't know what,
So then, the next difference is in line 361, which is fire equipment maintenance, required testing. And that was a $3,500 increase,
And that was just.
and it
for the-
says increase to include hose testing.
Yeah,
And we have been doing it in-house previously with a borrowed or rented hose testing machine.
not here anymore.
Yeah, and so I think that we should make an attempt to do that. So,
I think it's cheap money for what they're gonna do. 13,000 feet of hose.
yeah, I got a lot of experience with hose testing, and we did it in-house. Number one, it's a good training. We used to get the call company out and the full-timers and do hose testing as a training session. And so I think we could find a place to borrow a hose tester if we need to, or rent one, and do it ourselves. It's good to do, so. So that's my proposal. Those are where the numbers vary. And that brings us in at default, which I think is a good place to be. That,
so can we go back and discuss a few of these things? Because I still
Sure.
think we need to be able to repair the pagers and the radios, and there's nothing in here for that now. And it actually brings us in about 4,400 above. If I've been copying down your numbers correctly.
well, like I said, I was going on the cut, under where it had talked about radio maintenance programs and shipping,
Right.
so.
So that's not where it is, so can that be included with the fire equipment? Is that enough to repair fire equipment and the radios, 5,500?
I would separate it. Because the fire equipment repair, we've spent almost everything that we've got, and that's just shipping air packs back and forth from to Utah.
That's what I was thinking, that's air packs, okay.
And this year, we had all of the air bottles had to be hydro tested.
360, 741.
If we put money back into the radio, just got rid of contract, lose the word contract in this line. And just
Yep,
called
that
it radio
line's pretty well
maintenance. And
So, okay. I'm okay with that.
Do you have a number that you think is appropriate for radio maintenance?
I put in 5,000.
I guess that's the best number that we have
Well, it was
at this
to have the
point.
contract was 11,000, only
Understand.
guessing, taken off the hilltop and the voter sites is only, it's only a guess, and who knows? We may have a radio that really needs some repair. I can't foresee that.
Okay, and so, and then I have fire software support also is increase from the number that you had, Steve, just because
Yep.
of the requirement for the CAD dump.
Did we have that before?
No, it came with
That's
capital
all part of
area.
capital.
So we need to find $9,000 somewhere. I say we take it out of the call force wages. There's no way we're going to spend, I don't care if you get your call force up to 25 people in a year. I don't think that's realistic, and I don't think you'll ever spend $85,000 in there. I think this is all your, if you really want to come in at your proposed, I would bump up fire prevention to $600 or something that, you know, we could actually do something nice with. Put the
Well,
two
he's
things-
asking for 150 increase, which would bring it up to 500.
Okay, so let's do that. Let's just play a game here. So put 500 in there. We don't change any of the others. Take 95.50 out of call force wages, which is still well over what we'll ever spend. That brings us into the budget within 33 cents. I don't know where my pennies are.
So if we were to reduce that part-time firefighter EMT's line, Beth,
Reducing call force wages, but okay, if you want to take it out of part-time,
then
you do that too.
that would also change the payroll numbers, correct, Beth?
Yeah, by 7%, not a whole lot, on $9,500. All right, so wait, let me look at this again, because I've got two different numbers in here. 85, 376. So you want to continue to take away from the part-time fire, okay. So you want to put the 9,000 back into call force and put it down and take it out of part-time?
I didn't take anything out of call force wages.
I did.
Okay.
To balance the budget, to come back in at default, I took the
Good.
95.50 that we were over, and I took it out of call force, because that's so overwhelmingly too large. And I did not take it out of part-time, but I could reverse those, if that's what you're saying. I think it makes more sense to leave at least some of that in the part-time EMT and give us, at least possibly have the option of the third man on over the course of the year.
That's a whole different discussion.
Right. And I guess ultimately, it doesn't really matter. The budget's the budget. It's the bottom line. Whether you end up paying it out of call force, you're paying it out of part-time, doesn't really matter, so.
So
So we can do that.
I'm,
Hang on,
Yeah.
hang on.
so we're putting, make sure I got this right. So my proposal was add 699 to fire, 344, or, well, it's account 622. Which would you rather have, the line number or the account number?
Just say the name of it.
Okay, fire software support. So the difference between those two is,
So we're gonna go with the 66,580, right?
And support.
In software support,
uh,
to include the CAD.
well, yes, so that would be what we're asking for. So my number was lower, but I was adding 699 instead of the 4234. I don't know how you,
I have 6580 in fire software support.
Yep. To include CAD, yep.
okay. Because that changes, because I was adding basically 700, dollar minus 700, it's It's not quite a $4,234 difference.
Correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure we had that, good. So if we decrease that part-time line by 5,000, whatever the difference was with the software support, and add the 150 for fire prevention.
And 5,000 for radio maintenance.
Yes.
So what did you, I have 6580 for software support. Is that what you have, Beth?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Okay, so that changes the money taken out from the part-time wages by,
1,000. $9,550-ish, actually. So your fire part-time wages are now $10,958.
So we added, just so I can verify. So we added, from Steve's report that he just gave, we added $3,535 additional to software support, because he had it at an increase of $699. So now we're adding another $35.35 to get it to the $42.34 difference. Okay, so we have the $35.35 increase,
Mhm.
I have the $150 increase, and then I have $5,000 increase. So we have an increase of $86.85. Is that correct?
that's, yeah, okay with that.
Is that what you got, Louisa?
No, I got 95.55. Oh, 95.50.
Is there something else highlighted on the top?
Yeah, I got something else changed.
I haven't touched payroll yet, though.
Yeah, I didn't do anything with the taxes. I don't play with FICA or Medicare, it's just too crazy.
So where else are we off?
So 85,376.
Well, there was a $1,400 increase in pagers, or in the radio equipment line.
But we didn't change that, right?
That says if pages are purchased through CIP reduced to 3,600, and I was zeroing that.
You kept that at 3,600.
Yes. And the reason for that is because we have a box of pagers that aren't even assigned. They're told to me that they're ready to go, so I thought that was.
Well, who told you that, Steve?
What's that?
They can't be serviced anymore. They were programmed, if there's anything wrong with them, there's no parts out there. They go into Minotaur 6s and they're ready to go, yeah. But if it breaks,
So they don't work?
they work.
Well,
They're
there's like 20 or
programmed.
30 of them in the box. So even if we.
When did I show you those?
You haven't.
Okay,
I've been in the fire station.
oh, I know. We wanted to get new pagers. It's in the capital improvements. We just
I know
moved them
that.
this way.
I know that, and
Okay.
it's in the capital improvement, so I'm saying that in our budget, even if they break or whatever, we have quite a few of them that are ready to go, of the old
Fine.
ones. I'm hoping that we can get new ones, if that's what we need, but I'm just trying to do the best we can with what we have.
6,600, I'll get there. Fire intercepts? way down here. Nope, that's 6,600. $16, $250, $24, $5,665.80. We agreed on that number. 15, 5. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, postage, 32. 5,000. 500.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Which is what I have, but I have a change of 95.50, so one of our lines doesn't match, Beth.
Yeah.
19, 520, 38, 250,
Who's up on the screen now?
10. Yeah, mine's up on the screen. Only if you want me to scroll.
Oh, you have 33 cents?
Yeah. Yeah, baby. Up, up, up. I got it in my pocket. I'll drop it off. 36. 5, 65.
Get 67 cents where it uses a dollar. Okay, can you scroll up? Yep. Okay, so far so good. Okay, I'm good so far. Oh,
That's where I left off.
well, for some reason, when you zeroed out this one, you should have a negative 300 here. So the formula's wrong in this column.
Really?
So that should do it. All these numbers are different than mine, the payroll, so that's why our bottom doesn't match.
All right, wait a minute. What are we doing here? J minus H.
So that works out with the changes, Beth?
Yeah, I'll have to, I mean, is part-time EMT the line you want to take from?
What do you suggest?
I think the Board of Firewards needs to decide how they're gonna cover shift coverage. Because we have a lot of hours that need to be covered. I can give you what I need. Above full-time, I need about 2,185 hours covered. Because we have 693 hours are available for vacations. 960 hours are available for full-timers to be out sick. About 250 hours just to call backs. We need that coverage. About 192 hours in training, and about 90 in like bereavements, meetings, and others. So above full-time wages, we need about 2,185 hours covered. Our current budget, I only have 1,176 of those covered in overtime.
And overtime.
In overtime.
It's all overtime right now.
Yep. Our overtime, it's either you're gonna increase overtime, and they're gonna do all of it, or you're gonna break it up and have the call force and the part-timers do it, but we really need to decide on.
Okay, so we need more time there.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's your-
My concern with cutting call force my concern with cutting call force wages, just so we know, is that we experience, I believe, 11 out of 14 years with a default budget in the early in the 90s into the early 2000s. And so, although, again, the statement I made in the beginning that, you know, I'm hoping that we can recruit call firefighters and get a more active role as the town grows and continues to grow. It's quite a leap from 2 per shift to hiring more people per shift. And so I'd like to see us, and we've discussed that, is trying to see an active call force in that support role for helping to fill those times when we need more help. So that's why I was trying to be careful with that. If we're short, you think we're gonna be short in wages, then do we have enough in the wage line and stuff?
Well, as a board, you guys need to decide who's gonna cover the shifts.
Right.
If
We
it's
either
gonna be
gotta
all
put the money,
full-timers, it's
gotta go into overtime.
And that's New Hampshire retirement system, that's, a lot of things are attached to that.
Yep.
You're splitting it up with part-timers. You might even wanna lump those two together.
So I thought that we,
Part-time.
okay, so I need to understand this, because
I think it's unrealistic to think that we're going to grow the call force. And they can't cover the full-time shifts anyway, so it doesn't really matter. We have to cover the full-time.
so we have 44,719 in the overtime account right now.
That is 10% of your full-time wages. A well-rounded department, overtime should be about 10% of your wages. So when wages increases, your overtime increases the same amount. You only be spending about 10%, but it depends on how much you're using your people. But that's a whole other topic you guys have.
So the 44,000 is how much short in overtime that we are going to be, or is that just unanticipated openings? Because we need to budget for overtime for an anticipated shift coverage for sick time, vacation time, et cetera, training, somebody's out training or whatever.
If the
We need to
full-time
cover.
people are gonna cover all hours, you're gonna need about $83,000 in overtime.
In addition to the,
No. So another
Total, so another 50,000.
no,
Yeah.
please, I'm trying to understand this. So right now, we have 44,000
And you need 83.
total. Okay, so we're talking about another 40-something thousand.
And then almost 30% in New Hampshire retirement system.
So another 12. We call it 52. Or,
So is this budget doable then, in total,
I mean,
for the money that we have?
I can rub Peter, pay Paul. Because you guys need to decide what pay line is, the shift coverage is coming from. And obviously, we can move money within the budget. And it's there, it's just spread out right now.
Okay. So if we did that additional money that we just talked about and did take it from call force wages, that would give us a little bit more than the part-time to help with that, correct?
I don't know, so. You wanted to take it from all force instead of part-time? Is that what you're saying?
Well, that's the choice that we have if we want to come in at default,
You wanna come in at default, you're.
unless we got to start looking at other things.
You're leaving $11,823 in part-time rent. You still have $35,376 in call force.
I mean, you don't have 52,000 to take out a part-time right now. I guess I shouldn't have put it all, should have put a 12,000 under retirement service. Should have moved 40 to overtime and 50, and 12 to, that's better.
So if we adjust that and not take so much from part-time and take some from the call force line, does that, are you comfortable with that?
Because call force and part-time, they have the same payroll taxes,
Okay,
and the New Hampshire retirement system's not attached to them at all,
okay,
so those can be interchanged.
okay. Well, I think it's important for us to come in at default, at least, with the way things are going cost-wise.
Okay. So does that do it? Got overtime?
Does anybody have any comments or questions?
Well, I just want to make sure we're on the same page with the money.
Okay,
As taking all 52,000 out of call force
no, I wasn't proposing that.
and putting it into, 40 into overtime and 12 into retirement? Is that, so I bumped up
Oh, wow.
overtime by the 40,000. I bumped up retirement by 12, because you said it was 30%. And I took 52 out of call force.
So that is.
Keeps us net neutral on the bottom
So
line.
overtime is, so full-timers are covering all shifts?
That's how I have it. I thought that's what Steve said.
Oh,
I didn't say that. I didn't say that,
Oh.
because that's a board decision.
Well, if we have to come up with a budget before we make the decision on, and there's only 3 of you to make the decision on how you're gonna staff the,
I don't think we can do that tonight.
yeah, well,
Oh,
but
as
I
long as the
thought we had to have a
money's in there,
budget.
We'll come in at default, and we can just move the lines around on the payroll top, whatever you guys decide.
Let me just, I want to look
So
here at
the
something.
operating part of your budget has been discussed tonight.
So year-to-date, in the call force wages, we've spent 85, I'm so
we
sorry
haven't.
about that, 21,385, so there's remaining currently 63,990, right? And then part-time, we've spent 39,459, of which that includes 6 months' worth of 2 people every 4th day, correct?
Correct.
So there's remaining 30,726.
Wait. No, there's no, what do you mean? What are you saying about the part-time?
Under part-time,
Yeah,
for the first 6 months of the year, we were using that to cover that 4th shift until we got the
Yeah.
approval, and we were able to hire our last 2 full-time people.
right.
So I'm saying, out of the money in that we spent in that line, part of that money was for the first 6 months of paying for those wages. Correct?
Yeah, of the 38,000, well, I've got 38,000 through September 30, yeah.
Well, I've got amount remaining today here,
No,
which
guess we're-
is, the
we
amount
must- we
remaining
weren't privy to
today
that
is
one.
30,726.30.
And we don't have that information, so I can't tell you yes or no, but I can tell you what it was through September.
So, so that's the proposal that I have, is I think the important thing is to come in at default. And again, we're in the third year of a default budget at this point. I do believe it's important to do the best that we can, which I think we're doing. And we have to just be careful and make the budget work. So if we're happy with the number, the way the numbers match up,
That's right. Computer. Never mind. Leave it. I'll send it to myself later.
do you have it for us, Beth?
Yeah, it's gonna be a little off. Where do you want the extra $1,800 to come from? You'll have more, because I have a formula, because 5 of your full-timers are group 1 and 3 of them are group 2. So there's a different New Hampshire retirement system contribution for each of them. So when I put in the overtime, additional overtime, it calculates like 66% at group 1 rate and 34%. So it's a little off by about $1,700. So you only put that back into call floors?
Oh, that's just one more
Yeah.
tax,
Yeah.
right? Another 7%.
Okay, so we're short, or we have more?
You have more.
You have more.
Okay. Ooh, that's a good feeling.
Put it down below. Someplace where it won't affect any kind of calculations and taxes, $1,800,
Yeah,
for
so
goodness sakes.
I guess
I can just take less out of call floors.
that would be, if you think there's enough in part-time for what we need. Okay.
That all depends.
Yeah.
And we're
Okay.
back. Or you could put $1,800 into something down below where you think we might be short, and then you don't have to worry about all of the tax implications.
Well, I think that as any budget that we do, it's our best estimate as to where we're gonna be, and as long as we stay within the budget, we can do the best we can. We may have to, I mean, this year, nobody could have predicted the increase we had in fuel, as an example. So, you know, I think we're doing the best we can with what we got. And I know that there's more things like the hose testing and the brush cutting and things like that, but if we can do that in-house, that's gonna help out a lot, and I know the taxpayers appreciate it.
Put 1,800 into
Are you able to print that for us, Beth?
vehicle maintenance.
Yep. And what was that?
That's where I'd put it.
Where was it?
Well, I don't think Steve would agree. I would put the $1,800 savings into vehicle maintenance, because I think that's where we're gonna be short, or something along those lines. One of our maintenance lines, again, same idea, we don't know how much things are gonna cost,
Well,
but,
I'm also want to make sure that we can cover our wage lines, and if we have to do something different, if we have a catastrophic failure or something, then we do that. But I think we got to do the best we can with what we have.
so I guess doesn't matter. So leave it up there, put it wherever you want, Beth, and wages.
How much did you take out of call for? All of it?
Almost,
The 52?
yeah, 52.
So what does that leave?
Only because I ballparked the 40 for overtime and 12 for retirement, and you have better numbers for that.
So this year we spent $21,385.99 out of call force wages so far.
Well, there's only a month left. That's maybe at best $1,000.
We'll move on. Get these out before we leave.
These one too?
So I'd kind of like to have that in front of us to vote on it. So while you're working on that, we also, I want to talk about the 2023 CIP. The CIP committee chairman wanted me to talk about kind of our out years of, we're going to run short with the increase in the engine, that we're proposing for 2024, correct? So that was changed from 2025 at 550 to 850, which leaves us in our proposal of what we expect for revenue and then what we're purchasing. That leaves us, I believe, a little less than, right around 70,000 short in that account. That truck was in the 2025, was proposed in 2025, so why was that moved to 2024?
Yeah, I found some notes in the drawer and moved it back. Doesn't really matter to me where it is.
Well, and that is, so the one that we're proposing to replace is the 1987 International, correct?
Well, no other truck will fit over there. Okay, so I'm gonna throw another curve into it. The pump test failed on that truck,
On which truck?
engine one, the 87
The 87,
International.
okay.
And guess what? There is 0 parts.
Okay.
87 was a long time ago.
So we're kind of talking about more let's just understand what we got. So I asked for fuel usage for, from January to October 2022 is what we have. So engine one used 16 gallons of fuel. Engine two used, I'm just talking the first out pumpers. Engine two used 345.2 gallons, and engine five used 70.4. So that gives us an idea of, we can talk about hours and miles and all that stuff, but that really gives us kind of an idea how much those trucks are getting used. So it appears that engine one really is not getting used. It's my understanding that from when we did previous evaluations, that truck comes up to Central basically, or to the south end if one of the other trucks is out of service. And so, that's really all that's kind of used for. Engine 5, which is in South End right now, so that doesn't appear to have been used a lot this past year. Engine 2 is that first out truck, which the shift obviously is gonna take. And they need to respond. So if there's a fire call, they're pretty much gonna respond. If it's in the south end and somebody happens to be down there, or even if it's up here, but somebody happens to be down there, that engine can go. So we're kind of really looking at a replacement for engine 5, more than engine 1, except
At this
that
point.
we try to have a pumper in each station.
Right.
You know, even if one's broke down, that's when we bring engine 1 up, correct?
It's not considered a spare. It's considered a frontline piece.
Yeah, but I'm saying.
Right.
It's really only used when you move it up and then East Weare is empty for the time period that you
Right.
need to do. So if engine 2 and engine 5 are in good shape, not regarding the pump didn't pass pump test, then I would propose that we move that truck back out to 2025. And then we're gonna have to look at the out years going further on. But I know that that's a big concern for the finance committee, moving forward, and that's, like I said, from the chairman of the CIP committee. And again, we can revisit that as we need to, but if we can do it, I would propose that we move that out to 2025, which we would, according to the projections, we would have, then we would have the money for that.
You also gotta remember, it takes about 2 years to get one. As of today.
I know. I mean, if we,
And there's also lease purchase options.
yeah, and we can look at those too. Little more to, that used to kind of be a no-brainer until interest started going up. So now it is a factor, but it's something that we could consider. But going into this year, I think it's important that we try to come in without running into a negative in that account. So I would make a motion that we move that pumper out to 2025. At 850. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Any more discussion or questions? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
Opposed? Abstain?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
God, there's checks.
Don't lose that this week. It got lost last week.
The whole.
You had it.
Whole folder?
Yep.
I didn't lose it.
Yeah, what'd you do with the manifest? I'm going
me.
like, I don't know, it was on the table when I left.
Put it upstairs in the box.
Yeah.
All right, the other thing that I want to talk about that we had on the agenda was shift coverage policy. And I would defer that until we have a full board, as full as we can get it. Barely a quorum is, I don't think that's a good idea.
Apparently I'm out anyway, so I don't think even a quorum, do you?
Well, the voting would be that we have to have a quorum to have a meeting, but, I mean, if all 4 people abstain from voting that are on the department for some reason, then it's the amount of the people who actually are voting for that, okay? But anyways, the only thing that I have of concern is that it's come to my attention that we're covering with call force personnel shifts on Saturday and Sunday. And so I don't think that has been authorized by the board. I know it hasn't been authorized by the board. And so we cover, we're authorized by the town in our budgeting for the 2 people 24 hours a day. In my opinion, additional coverage is something that, because the board controls the budget, I think that's important. So I think that, if we need additional people to get a certain task done, then that's one thing. But if we're just covering shifts for additional coverage, I think that needs to be approved by the voters, or at a minimum, approved by the board in certain circumstances. So I just wanted to bring that up. Again, I don't have a full board here, but it's my opinion that needs to be authorized by the board. That's an additional coverage. It's not just within the tasks that we're normally doing and what we're allowing for regular coverage. So we'll have to talk about that in 2 weeks. All right, so we got that printed. Okay.
Did it have all the correct changes in it?
Good to me.
I'm gonna take that, because I think I
You know
only
what,
signed one of them.
We have to, we have to motion to accept it too.
Lady that had an application in took it back. Well, now that interest rates have changed and things, she was gonna build a house and then let her son have their house. And she's thinking better of it. Just thinking.
Yep, yep. So I'll make a motion that we approve the budget to come in at default with the changes that we have written down on this proposal, which I don't have an official name for it.
The
So
revised
that-
proposed budget.
Yeah, I'm just trying to differentiate that between the other
11/28/22.
proposals. Okay, so as long as you know what we have, and that's the one that we're gonna go by, okay, so I would approve that we do that at default with the changes that we agreed to do that have just been printed for us. Do you have that? You all set with that motion? Yeah.
I'm way ahead of you.
What's that?
I'm way ahead of you.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor. Is there any other, oh, we need a second for that.
Yep.
Dave, seconds. Is there any other questions or discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. So we have three,
Yep, I abstain.
what's that?
I did not vote.
Okay, so one abstain. All
I
right,
don't even know if I can do that, can I? Because I'm gonna get paid out of that budget.
well, then you would abstain
Okay, well, that's what I did then.
if you, yeah.
That's what I wanna do.
Okay, so I'm just going to write on mine that this is the approve by board. Just so that, because there's too many copies of different things. Okay? The other thing that we got to just bring up real briefly, we'll be done quickly, I think, here, is the fire chief's job description, and we were going to send out the, I'm sorry, not the job description, but the ad that we were going to send out.
Has not been posted yet?
No, I discovered that, so we made the two changes that Leah had brought up, but in the job description that we had, it said, here, I'll get a copy, so. Under the second paragraph where it says minimum qualifications, must be fire drivers. Okay, and acceptable, in the job description, it said an acceptable equivalent combination of education experience. And that wasn't added in, that wasn't put in the original application that we were gonna put out. So I wanted to bring that up, because if we approve that other one, then we're very rigid on the minimum requirements. And so this gives somebody that may have a equivalent education, not specifically, say, a bachelor's degree in fire science, but we can look at it and say, well, they have other things that help to meet that requirement for it. And then that's what it says in the job description. So I wanted to add that in there to,
Says in the-
so, because somebody could think, okay, I don't have exactly a bachelor's degree in fire science or closely related field, but I have this, this, and this, and this, and that's what, so if we go, what are you looking for?
Here's the original one.
This is the job description. So right here, in the job description. So I caught that. I thought we had put that in there because that was what was in, and I think it's important to be there, so I wanted to
I don't necessarily agree.
make that change. What's that?
I don't necessarily agree.
With
but-
what?
Well, I guess an acceptable equivalent combination of education and experience, I guess that, we would need to have some sort of guidelines as to what would be an acceptable equivalent. Obviously, I don't know, I don't go to school, I don't, for fire science, so I don't know what all it involves, but,
Well,
I
we
mean,
can,
if you have an associate's degree in marketing and you've been a firefighter for 12 years, is that acceptable? Or does at least the associate's degree need to be something along the realm of in the fire service, or some sort of fire degree?
Sorry, Paul.
well, I mean, it says fire science are closely related field. As a chief, I know a lot of towns will go with business management education because that's basically what they're doing, managing budgets and personnel and all that stuff, so they might allow that. Or if somebody doesn't have a bachelor's degree, but say they have an associate degree, I know that the tech school used to do the paramedic program was a 2-year program. I don't know if it still is there. I think it is, if they have it. And you get an associate degree in EMS management or something like that. And then, but they also give college credits now for firefighter, fire officer, fire inspector, all that stuff. And again, you can get credits for other things too, so, again, if somebody may have a combination of what we're looking for in the experience or the degree, so that would be up to, the people that are doing the resume review as to what would be acceptable and make that decision.
Okay.
And have to have a reason for it. I mean,
So
you
that would be,
can't
yeah,
just-
so that's my only concern, is
Yeah.
that there needs to be some, not necessarily for the advertisement, not for putting it out there,
Right.
but there needs to be some sort of consensus on what is an appropriate, substitution or, degree of
So
whatever.
the plan is
so-
to have a panel of
Right, I get that, I
people
understand.
that are qualified to do that,
Mm-hmm.
to make that determination on if they have the minimum qualifications in that acceptable realm. They can't just willy-nilly say, well, we don't need that.
Mm-hmm.
But it gives a flexibility, because if somebody looks at that and said, well, I don't have this, but I've got this, because if we're rigid with that, then they might not apply. I would rather have them apply and have us take a look at that than not apply. And again, that was in the job description, so
Right.
I realized that, I thought we had put it in there, but it got missed, and I apologize for that, but I thought that was important, but I wanted to just bring it back to the board instead of modifying it, because
see.
you guys had approved that,
Yep, that's fine.
so.
You're gonna have to change your date though. There's no way, that's
Oh.
not a reasonable amount of time.
You're right. Well, then we lost a week, really, because I
I'm
didn't,
just saying, don't leave
yeah.
December 19th so we can put the ad out.
okay,
I don't care what day you pick,
okay,
I think it's only fair to give somebody 30 days or so to put a resume and everything else together.
Yeah,
So tomorrow, I'm not here, but tomorrow, 30th, we could post it for the 1st. And then if you wanted to make them by January 2nd or something, that's the first of the year.
okay.
It's a Monday. No.
You're not even gonna be able to take action on that tonight anyway, because there's 4 of us that can't vote. They're not here.
No, so the vote, if we have 4 people, which is a quorum, and then of the voting members, it has to be a majority to pass. So if you're not going to vote. The three of us would be,
Why wouldn't you vote? Oh, because you might.
yeah,
okay,
the
right.
three of us, we would need two to pass it. Because we've run into this before, and it's of the voting members. The quorum makes an official meeting, and then of the members that vote. If we all recused ourselves on a vote, and there was only one person voting, then, and voted yes, then the vote would pass. That's the way it is. Yeah. So I'll make a motion that we add, we do the changes as proposed, adding an acceptable equivalent combination of education and experience under qualifications, and change the date till, is that,
I can't do the second, we're not here, so.
Right, do the third. Second is still the holiday.
The third, whatever,
what day is that?
is it Tuesday?
It's a Tuesday, January 3rd, 2023, at 4 PM. Okay?
I could do it at 5, because I'm here till 5.
Okay. All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? You with us, Dave?
Yeah,
Which way do you vote?
he said aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I haven't heard that from
Oh, you did? Okay, I'm sorry.
I heard a mumble.
You want my hearing aids?
Yeah, I might need them, yeah. All right. Okay, manifest. Moving on to other business. Make a motion to accept the fire department's accounts payable manifest for checks dated 12/1/2022 in the amount of $1,525.44.
I'll
There-
second.
And there's a second. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain?
Yep.
Okay. That's all we have on the thing, unless there's something else that,
My order was to bring back an updated negligent fee ordinance, and that's that's that there.
Thank you.
My best attempt at the wages per vehicle, based on the FEMA rates. I guess I'm just kind of sharing that, and then I gotta bring it to the
Okay.
selectmen.
I'd like to wait till the next meeting if possible, so we have more of a board, is that,
That's fine.
okay?
Oh, you
And I
charge
just,
$2
and I
now?
emailed
That's all?
the overtime policy, so you can
Got that.
digest that as well,
I did
Okay.
read that. Thanks, chief.
now that I got everybody's email.
Okay, I'll keep this for the rest of the members, okay?
Yep.
All right. Okay,
I like that.
if there's no other business, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Dave motions to adjourn, and a second.
Second.
Have a second. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Nobody opposed. Good. Thank you very much.
That was good.